at a certain point in Ethereum, it became too constrained. It seemed like we weren't going to be upgrading. We weren't going to be evolving. We just had Phil on the show last week. He told the saga of EIP 999, this whole thing. Yeah. You started to develop Polkadot. We're going to skip ahead a little bit. And you wound up with what you called Governance 1, which was this council model. People were able to elect a council, not one person, one vote, but based on the amount of DOT they held or KSM they held. How do you think Governance 1 went? And was it designed to be the ultimate solution, or was it always meant to be a step?
No, it was a stopgap solution. Mm-hmm. And I think I seem to remember speaking in China when I introduced Governance 1, pointing this out very clearly. This is the first iteration. It will get us past launch. It will not be the final solution. Uh-huh. The idea was that in the early days, we may need to take emergency actions. We may need to fix bugs. We may need to revert or restart, or as such, we need a more coherent model for decision making. Yeah. And that's where the council came from. There was also the technical committee. So it was actually a sort of tricameral structure. So we had the technical committee, which was originally meant to be lots of different implementer teams and research teams. In reality, it sort of ended up being just the Web3 Foundation and Parity. Then there was the council, which was a voted used a fragment voting algorithm. Mm-hmm. In some sense, it was an approval vote system, so you could approve of several people,
right?
And it would use your vote to ensure that as many of those people got a seat on the council as possible. I think the council was originally 13 members.
Sounds
11.
Right.
11 or 13. Mm-hmm. I think the Kusama Council went up to 19 or so.
Yeah.
And the council could make a proposal that could be fast-tracked. I think the council had its own ability to put forward a proposal.
Yeah, they were called motions, right?
Motions,
yeah.
And then separately, there was the main sort of referendum room, which would be needed to get a vote through, and then votes. Yes, that's right. The council could alter what the counting mechanism was.
That's
from
right.
These three different things, right?
Yeah, we had one once that the council put to voters at a 50-50.
Yeah,
because it was like controversial. So they're like, okay, well, everybody go figure it out.
Yeah. So it's like majority carries or positive turnout bias or negative turnout bias, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. As I said, I think it delivered some of what we needed. The thing it definitely didn't deliver was a decentralization.
Yeah.
It was not long-term going to be resilient. Mm-hmm. And we're already seeing, regulation continuing to up its game, continuing to sort of identify systems that have relatively few actors in, much like the council, and try to break them apart into their individuals, and then
who has authority and go after them, right?
Go after them.
Yeah.
And this is problematic for a decentralized system. I think the only real way of being sort of the only proven decentralized model is Bitcoin's, right? Or at least the only proven sort of properly economic decentralized model is Bitcoin's, which is basically where individuals are not readily identifiable because it's like, I don't know, IP addresses or cryptographic keys. And secondly, so actually not IP addresses, where there are nodes on a network. Now, you might run enough of the network to maybe be able to identify a node for where a block came from, but one can hide one's IP address in the Bitcoin network fairly effectively. And as I say, cryptographic keys, which are pseudonymous perhaps, but still not readily, don't allow you to readily identify an individual. And this is how Bitcoin rewards its validators, and indeed how validators in Bitcoin kind of identify themselves. And I think it's a model that works. It's a model that has not been shut down. Has stood this relatively strong test of time, 15 years. Mm-hmm. We don't have, in some sense, therefore, OpenGov, the next generation governance, was what this was based on. Governance 1 was much more based on saying, well, we're in the early stage of launching a network. Let's ensure that we can fix it if it breaks. And so these were the two sort of divergent things that were drawing us in different directions.